Athena stood at the edge of the temple ruins, her gaze lost in the shifting tides below. The sea, endless and unburdened, stretched far beyond mortal reach, carrying whispers of stories long past. She listened, though she knew the waves had no answers. They only reflected back what was already known. Medusa was gone. The name settled in her mind like a stone dropped into deep waters. It should not have mattered. She was a goddess, eternal, bound to reason, not sentiment. And yet reason could not quiet the restlessness in her chest. She had thought herself just. When Medusa had come seeking sanctuary in her temple, trembling and broken, Athena had turned away from mercy, choosing punishment instead. The desecration could not go unanswered, she had told herself. The world demanded order, and she had given it. But standing here now, centuries removed from that moment, she could not ignore the truth pressing at the edges of her mind. Medusa had not been the one to defile the sacred space. She had been a victim, robbed of choice, of voice, of safety. And instead of protection, she had been cursed, a fate worse than death. Athena had convinced herself it was necessary, that she had made Medusa into something powerful, something untouchable. But what power was there in isolation? What justice was there in loneliness? She remembered the stories mortals told, of Perseus, of his triumph, of the head that turned all to stone. They praised him, never questioning the sorrow behind the serpent-crowned visage. Medusa, they claimed, had been a monster. They did not know the girl who had once knelt in prayer beneath these very columns, her hands clasped in desperate hope. Athena closed her eyes. She had thought herself above regret, above the failings of mortal hearts. But wisdom, true wisdom, was knowing that even gods could err. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of salt and something softer, something like memory. And for a brief moment, Athena imagined she heard a voice, not in anger, not in accusation, but in quiet understanding. The sea continued its song, unbroken, eternal. Athena turned away, carrying her sorrow with her. Perhaps in time even a goddess could learn. If Athena could live this moment again, she would act with compassion instead of judgment. She would see Medusa not as a symbol of desecration, but as a woman in need of protection. Instead of a curse, Athena might have given Medusa a blessing, one that shielded her from harm without isolating her from the world. She might have granted her the strength to reclaim her life, rather than a monstrous form that left her feared and alone. Perhaps she would have hidden her away in a sacred place where no harm could reach her, or given her the power to walk freely without fear of the past haunting her. Why? Because with time comes wisdom, and wisdom reveals truth. Athena would realize that punishing Medusa had not restored justice. It had only deepened an already grievous wound. Justice should protect the innocent, not make them suffer further. If she could do it over, Athena would choose differently, not to erase her regret, but because she would finally understand that true power is not in control or punishment. It is in kindness, in lifting others up when they have already been broken. If Athena could live this moment again, she would act with compassion instead of judgment. That's a powerful perspective. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, learning from mortal women who transformed Medusa's suffering into strength. It speaks to the idea that even divine beings can grow, that understanding is not static, even for a goddess. Perhaps Athena, in looking upon the world now, would see the symbol of Medusa's head adorning shields, banners, and bodies, not as a warning, not as a monster's face, but as a sign of resilience. Mortal women had taken the tragedy she had once allowed and reshaped it into something defiant, something protective. And in that, Athena would find herself humbled. She, the goddess of wisdom and strategy, had failed to see what mortal women now made clear. Medusa had never been a villain. She had been a survivor, and in her name, others now stood unshaken. Athena had once believed herself the guardian of justice, but justice had found its own way, beyond her hand. And for the first time in her eternal existence, she was grateful. Not for her own power, but for theirs. Why? Because with time comes wisdom, and wisdom reveals truth. Athena stood at the threshold between past and present, watching as the mortal world carried Medusa's image not as a curse, but as a shield. What she had once failed to do, they had done in her stead. They had reclaimed Medusa's story, turning sorrow into strength, pain into defiance. For the first time, Athena did not see herself as the keeper of wisdom, but as a student of it. The mortal women who bore Medusa's face upon their armor, their banners, their very skin, they had done what she could not. They had understood before she did. A slow breath escaped her, though she did not need it. The wind carried whispers of the past, but also something new, the unyielding voice of those who had risen. With a quiet nod, Athena accepted what had always been true. Wisdom was not a throne, but a journey, and even gods had more to learn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you can catch the fourth part of the story.